I am delighted to be joined this morning in conversation with Mart Laidmets, Director General of the Education and Youth Board in Estonia. Mart, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Mart, I came upon you in an article recently in the Sunday Times, which intrigued me. It seems that the young people in education in Estonia are happier, teachers are more fulfilled, you're number one in the PISA rankings, and you're outstripping everybody from the UK to the USA and Japan. What's going on over there, Mart, and how do we get a little bit of the action?
Yeah, it's difficult to say one reason or any secrets why this has happened, but there are many reasons, of course, why the results are as they are right now. But I think that there are three pillars, and one of them are very motivated parents and students. They know that if they uh, work hard, but at the same time do it together with our good cooperation, then we will get better life. Second, of course, that our national curriculum is giving quite a big amount of freedom to schools, to teachers, school headmasters, how to reach the goals which are actually uh, common for all the system. But most important, I think, and it's a third pillar, we have very professional teachers. They are well educated and they are well prepared for the job. They have all the necessary competencies, even digital competence. And on those three pillars, I think the system is working.
It seems that you have a high degree of trust in both your principals and your teachers, and you've moved from a kind of a high touch regulation and control to support. So you would have relatively few inspections. Can you speak about that, please?
Yes, in many ways, Estonian and Finnish systems are uh, similar to each other. Uh, we have already long tradition that we have more or less abolished the school inspections. So we have external evaluation, which, as you mentioned, should help the schools, should give a good advice. Of course, if there are some real troubles, if we can see from their results that some schools are really lagging behind, that the students are not getting those results which are determined in national curriculum, then everybody tries to help. But we don't have that kind of inspection that somebody goes to the schools and tries to understand what the teacher is doing in the classroom or something else. We are trying to give as much information, feedback, data to all stakeholders, but not go very detailedly in school life. So it's really big degree of autonomy.
The high level of attainment your students get academically has not been at the expense of satisfaction levels. I note that Estonia comes top five in the world in terms of both high attainment and also high satisfaction amongst pupils. How have you managed that?
We have been working very systematically, really, to understand how satisfied the school teachers and parents and of course the students are. So we have already for several years so-called surveys of satisfaction. So it's centrally organized by the youth and education board, and most of students answer the questions, so we know how the satisfaction level on is. We are not doing any ranking of of the schools according to us, but all school principals and all school owners can see how satisfied actually the teacher and the students are and what should be improved. And I think that it's also very important part that of the system that we are systematically actually surveying how satisfaction level is It doesn't mean that everybody has to be happy and not to study, but how happy you are in this environment, both physical and all other aspects taken into consideration. So we are working really hard to really understand that the school environment supports every student.
So it sounds like there's been a very much a strategic emphasis on both the satisfaction and the attainment level of young people. Could I ask you, teaching is hard work because it's heart work. And I sometimes say that well-being in the classroom starts in the staff room. What have you done in terms of teacher well-being, Mart? And it strikes me that teaching is very busy work. Life is very busy and very difficult. And how successfully have you been able to, I suppose, support the teacher in a role that can be quite greedy in terms of effort and application and in terms of energy?
Of course, we would like to support much more and lessen the burden of bureaucracy and all the documents we have to fill and any kind of reports. Of course, the digital transformation has helped because the teachers usually don't have to fill in a lot of documents because everything is coming digitally from registers. The e-diaries at the schools are digital, and it actually um, makes burden of this bureaucracy and documents much lesser. But of course, we like to do more to value really the profession of teachers. But it's not easy, as you said, because the world is getting more and more complex. It's not just teaching your own subject, but many other aspects that you have to do. The parents are more demanding, so it's not easy, and it's probably a part of a system where we have to work very hard to really attract young people to a teacher's profession. Our national strategy from this year to 2035, so 15 years ahead, it's the most important question: how to value the profession of teacher.
What's your best guess on that, Mart? I know there's no simple single solitary bullet, but what's your best guess in terms of how we can attract the very best of people into the profession, hold them and retain them, and make them feel valued?
This autonomy of a teacher, that they still have many ways how to conduct the studies, how to teach, but we very centrally, even the school principal is not disturbing them in their job, but they are really free professionals which can reach the goals what they need themselves, and how to really find balance because not everybody is very interested in this big autonomy, and some people are maybe more interested in strict regulation. We have to value the teacher as professional, which is, and she or he can knows best how to do the job they are doing, and I think that that's the most important. That they feel valued and they feel that the job that they are doing is really in their own hands. They are responsible for that what happens, and they get also feedback both from central level, because we have huge amount of data which we are gathering from the system all the time, and usually we are not using it to give feedback, and that's why in many countries there was school inspections, very detailed questionnaires, very detailed evaluation what they are doing. I think that's not necessary. They should get the big picture how they are actually managing in their job, and different levels. And if they get the right feedback, I think they are acting in the best way they can.
So it's not collecting data for the sake of collecting data. It's to specifically give back practical feedback that can move things in a conscious way, in a visible way forward.
Absolutely. So they can understand what the results of the job they are doing is giving, actually, that they are helping. That's the most important job in the world in many ways, because we are affecting so many lives of young people. and of course all the students different. They need personal approach, but with the help of this digital technology and all the possibilities we have in the 21st century, I think it's also possible to make the job easier actually.
You've mentioned digital technology a few times, Mart, and it strikes me that technology is very much embedded deeply into the heart of what you do in teaching and learning. We in Ireland here are looking very actively at the whole area of assessment. And I note in your system a move towards online assessment. Could you speak about that, please?
Yes, we have of course national tests in the end of basic school and in the end of upper secondary school. They are not yet digital because we are still working on it, how to do it in the best way. But all uh, our tests, sample-based tests, which we are doing in the end of third, sixth, and 11th year, they are already digital. So and we have also prepared digital tests which the teacher can use whenever she or he wants. So just to compare with our schools, what's happening. It's not something what we are getting punished or the teachers are getting some grades for that. It's just to test where you are, and if they are digital, it's quite easy to organize, and the data is covered to the registries quite easily. You don't have to fill in a lot of papers, send them somewhere, and someone has to correct them. So yes, we have a quite huge database of digital tests in most of the subjects, and teachers are already used to uh, make it part of their everyday teaching job. So it's not only digital study materials, but it's really yes assessment system also.
Finally, Mart, I've heard it said that education is the greatest weapon against tyranny the world has ever known. And in our neighbouring jurisdiction in the UK, they have a concept called levelling up. And I noticed that you've had great success there in making sure demography doesn't have to be destiny, in making sure that disparity of poverty is not seen in the attainment. You've been able to kind of manage to raise the level of attainment for all people, irrespective of financial means. How have you gone about doing?
Really, everybody living in big cities, in rural areas, on small islands, that they get the same access to a best quality education. Of course, when funding systems support this, we have both municipal and private education or system or schools, but they're operating under the same rules, and even private schools, which are mostly for specific really interested groups, religionally or pedagogically, like Waldorf, they can operate, but the same funding model apply. And so you can basically be quite sure that whatever school is the closest to your home is as good as our one. One of the secrets behind the system is also that it's not only one of the best of academic results according to PISA, but it's one of the most equal systems
Mm.
also in the world.
So access is important, Martin, your system, and equality of access to the same standard and quality of education for all, irrespective of income.
Exactly. And of course, as I told already in the beginning, there were three pillars. If parents are not so motivated, then of course it affects the results of students also, because many things actually start from a home, of course, and there's something what the system, of course, can level it somehow later, but it's much more difficult if the home support is not as big as in some schools or some areas, but the system is trying to do. We have a free school lunch, for example, so you don't have to be hungry if your parents don't have money to go to the school, or free school transport for everybody, and so on. So yes, it's many efforts have been done.
Am I correct to understand, Mart, that all students going to school in Estonia receive a free lunch?
Yes, it's supported by the government, of course. In some schools or some municipalities, parents can pay more to get specific meals or something else. But yes, it's supported centrally by central government that everybody should get lunch free. Concentrate on studying.
As they, I think, is it Maslow's theory? First we need the basic needs met before we can start to worry about education. And so it sounds like a very enlightened way to proceed. Mark, can I thank you so much indeed for this conversation? Continued success to you, your colleagues in Estonia, and warm greetings from your colleagues here in Ireland. Thank you kindly. Go well and positively.
Thank you, and all the best to you also.